Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I wanna wake up in that city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. Here I am. I'd like to buy the world alone and polish and doing the love. Stop. It's gonna be ecstasy. They should be meant to be.
Here's a quick introduction for today's presenter. It was 1996, a singular moment in time, when even Steve Jobs himself thought he was a failure. That's when Mark flipped a photo of Jobs out of a magazine, taped it to his Apple computer, and wrote the line, "We will exist to inspire greatness." Then he sent an email announcing he would launch an agency to serve legendary brand builders. Well, that firm quickly erupted, leading to 3 decades of building, reviving, and amplifying iconic brands, from Netflix and Samsung to Pfizer, CVS, Shutterstock, and many more. Mark's classic campaign for Citibank also inspired a George Clooney speech in the film Up in the Air. His career-long fascination with classic business books led to collaborating with author clients including Dale Carnegie and E-Myth Worldwide. 2 years ago, Mark came across another classic when a Canadian author introduced Big Little Legends to his Vistage group. He calls it the defining playbook for everyday leaders to build irresistible brands. At 9 years old, Mark named his first pet, a cat, Frisky, after his favorite product launch on TV. He also happens to play a rare Tommy Hilfiger branded Gibson SG guitar. His agency also helped to grow both brands. Please welcome Manhattan's Idea Volcano, Mark DiMassimo.
Fantastic introduction to today's special speaker, Mark, who, as you saw there, founder and creative chief of DiGo, DiMassimo Goldstein, a New York-based agency focused on positive behavioral changes. They use the words healthy, wealthy, and wise. And so he'll report on some of the things they're working on these days. They have worked with clients like Bronx Zoo. They rebranded Weight Watchers, Sally Mae, Jackson Hewitt, Shutterstock, Boar's Head, which used to be it's a great lunch meat, but they're saying I can't eat lunch meat anymore. Two of his social advocacy programs are two that I love and support as well. Tapping, which is about use the tap, drink out of that, similar to Liquid Death's Death to Plastic. Mark just also agrees we want to stop with these plastic bottles. And then offlining, a disconnect from our devices because of we need a well-being focus by not staring at these little screens all day and night. So without further ado, Mark, take it away. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say, students. Remember, at the end, you'll have a chance to ask some questions. So think about that as you hear the presentation. Thank you, Mark, and you got the floor.
Thank you so much, Professor Elmer. You, in my mind, are the legendary marketing professor. So thanks so much for having me here. Here you go. Meanwhile, back in Paris, and here in this classroom, virtual right now, what is the undisputed, undeniable, unequivocal number one factor that drives demand? Is there a secret ingredient or formula, a cryptic code that attracts long lineups of customers, top-tier talent, and oodles of opportunity to your front door? And what if it's not a secret, but something hiding in plain sight? What if driving demand has nothing to do with marketing as we know it? Welcome to Big Little Legends, where we are intensely focused and curious to know what makes people line up, no matter the product or service category. From the heart of the French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana, why do customers swarm only one? Ooh, shit. Sorry, I've gone all the way back to the beginning here. Apologize. Let's see if I can just get back to where I am. Not sure why.
It's a quick introduction for.
Let's see. Well, that's bad show business. All right. From the heart of the French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana, why do customers swarm only one coffee shop? Jesus, I don't know what's happening here. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on one second. First, I have to check if the rest of my presentation is here, and it is.
Did it not download into? I've had that happen before. That the slides will have to load first, but I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. So I'm over here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it's slide 11. Let's see if it'll go to slide 12.
Yeah, it did.
It did. All right. All right, let's see. I'm going to go back to 11 and see what happens when I click on 12 here. Why does a hungry mob line up for one militant soup vendor in Manhattan? Why are they booking tea times 18 months in advance to walk with history on a small 30-foot bridge in Scotland? Why will they camp out in the rain for the latest gadgets from a Silicon Valley tech startup firm that was a mere months from bankruptcy in 1997, but well before the company made a stand and became the world's #1 ranked brand? What is the most famous painting in the world? You know her name, right? But why? It's a universal topic. On any given day, there are 35,000 paintings, objects, and artifacts on display in the Louvre in Paris. But why do 10 million people a year come from over the hills and far away to focus their attention on a single 30 by 21-inch portrait protected by bulletproof glass? It's not the biggest or most majestic painting in the building. How did this one painting in this Paris museum get anointed as the undisputed queen of top of mind awareness in her product category? What are the commonalities from any and all legends, from the big and the tall to the slim and the small, that could tilt the business playing field in your favor and drive demand throughout the land for your brand? So I started my agency, was DiMassimo Inc. at first, and then it was DiMassimo Brand Advertising. And ultimately, a 21-year-old named Lee Goldstein showed up for an interview with a copywriter's portfolio. And I interviewed him, and I had an intuition. I said, I think you could be one of the top 500 or 1,000 copywriters in this business, but I think you could be one of the 5 top new business guys. Would you be interested in trying? And he said, sure. And we became DiMassimo Goldstein. And DIGO, DIGO, is short for DiMassimo Goldstein. That's how we got our name. So he rose from that 21-year-old entry level new business guy with a copywriter portfolio to become president of the agency, to get his name on the door, and to be a significant partner in owning the business. These things are possible. He has been working. I guess you figure out his age. I think he's 50 now, might be 49. So that is really unusual in this world, to start someplace and to have a whole career and be an owner and all of that. But that just goes to show how special he is. So 28 years in to this agency that I started for one reason. I wanted to be a business artist. I had been a musician. I had been on the road with bands. I was a writer. I looked at what it took for a writer to be successful, and I wanted to be successful because honestly, I wanted to mate, I wanted to have kids, I wanted to be able to afford a life, and I also didn't want to be, on airplanes and in LA for my whole life while my family lived, in New York or whatever. I had to figure this problem out of being a creative human being, having a fulfilling career, and also supporting a life. And what I realized was there was no answer to that without becoming a brilliant marketer. So I got into this business that I'm in, call it the brand building business, call it the advertising business, call it the agency business. I got into it to learn, not to prove how brilliant I was, not because I wanted to live like TV characters that I'd seen. And, there are different generations. The first generation was Bewitched. That's how old I am. The next one was 30 something in the 80s, and on and on. It wasn't because there was no glamour in the advertising industry in my mind. I didn't even know the advertising industry existed, honestly, until I wanted to become a great. So for me, that's why Steve Jobs, I wanted to earn my place at the table with those business artists who are able to create legendary brands. That's what my career has been about. And I did it. And I can't wait to share with you who some of these people are, and what I learned from them. But 28 years in, after I started my agency, 35 years into my career, this author, Gare Maxwell, who wrote this book, Big Little Legends, walks into this CEO roundtable meeting that I'm in, and he says just what I just said to you at the beginning. Meanwhile, back in Paris, that whole thing. And it slowly dawns on me that this guy from Canada with a strange accent, who, by the way, he's the guy who introduced me on that video at the beginning, that guy has written the playbook for the things that I've been learning, practically supporting these brand builders. He and I have been working together ever since. I just came back from a week of presenting this Big Little Legends on the road myself. I'm the first person who presents it other than him. And like all the other stuff I've done for my life, I'm not flying to Tampa to talk to rooms of 8 to 18 CEOs of smaller and owners of smaller businesses, um, uh, giving credit to some Canadian author that most people around here haven't heard of yet because it's prestigious. It isn't. I could rest and I could like go to sleep on the pile of my awards from Cannes and all of that, and be a proud New York agency guy all day. But that's not what turns me on. What turns me on is the best idea wins, and he had the best idea. And so now we have 3 clients already together. People out there in the world that he turned on to the idea of having the power and joy and fun of building your own brand and making it legendary, who then needed an agency in order to help them amplify that brilliant idea and build it in the world. So 3 so far. An HVAC company in upstate New York from whom you can expect unexpected wins. They're amazing. By a strong female CEO who saved the family business by kicking her parents out and took it over. She is amazing. And she's emotionally intelligent as well. She did it because it was the right thing to do. To a gentlemanly private injury law firm down in North Carolina, and a center for neuro wellness diagnostic testing in New Jersey. It's called the Center for Neuro Wellness, and the idea is where you are the center. Think of those pictures of the galaxy that you might have seen out there on memes on the internet with a little picture of where the Earth is. And it's like all the way over on the edge, and it says, you are here. You're not the center of the universe, but when you go to the center, you are the center. And that's a wonderful experience. That's the idea there. So we share those in common. So I'm going to tell you about that. And I'll just say one more thing about why this could really matter for you. So the benefit of what I figured out over time and what I saw. So I'm into this. I started my agency 30 years ago, 25 years ago. We get hired, believe it or not, by McKinsey. The top female partner in the world, Judy Wade, who's now my friend. We work together all the time. She ran the Johannesburg office, and she hired us. And she hired us she considered Ogilvy, McCann, 2 biggest agencies in the world at the time, and us. We didn't even have office furniture yet. We were in this big cavernous space, sitting around in a bunch of chairs. And I said to her, why would you hire us instead of those other agencies? She said, do you think that I got where I got by not being able to figure out who the smartest teams are? She said, do you think I care about all the rest of it? I want to know who my team is, and I want the smartest team. And this is the team I want on my business. So we're going, and Digo is the fastest growing agency in the world. It's called DiMassimo back then, for these first 5 years after it's launched in 1996. One of my other clients at McKinsey, we're working on the McKinsey Quarterly, says, wow, your job is so fun. You get to be creative. You get to work on different things. You got all of these things, but I have the security of having a job. And I don't laugh at my friends no matter what they say. I really try not to. But I couldn't, I laughed. The idea was so funny to me. I said, Jeff, all it takes is one person to fire you, and you are 100% fired and have to look for your next thing. I have 16 clients. I have to be fired by 16 people and then by myself to truly be fired. Security in this world, more so today than when we had this conversation a quarter of a century ago, much more so today than then. Having a brand, I won't say being a brand, be a person, but have a personal brand that you use. Be a human being, but have a personal brand and maybe learn to build brands. It is the ultimate security. Your brand is a kind of conceptual, emotional equity that keeps on working for you even when you go to an island. And yes, you have to feed it. Yeah, it requires commitment and it takes work. It's a flywheel that you build up. But if you learn the art of building legendary brands, all your marketing will work harder. All your marketing will work harder. Some of it will work a lot harder, and it will pay you back. It is security in a world of freelancers and agencies disgorging themselves of talent and AIs competing with everybody. Humans are still making the ultimate decisions and will for a very long time to come. Brands make all the difference. So that's what this is about today. So there's a true north message here. I don't know if you recognize these folks here. There's Oprah in one of our commercials that went viral, where she says, "I love bread." I'll show you a spoof later that Maya Rudolph did of it. That's how viral it went. You see the Dollar Shave Club guy. He spent a couple of $1,000s, created a viral video to launch his company, and it built something that he sold a couple of years later for $1 billion to Gillette. They just couldn't stand to have Dollar Shave Club on the market. Um, yeah, the Liquid Death guys. This is somebody who, like me, got into the advertising business to learn how to build brands. Well, this guy learned really well because he left the advertising business and he started Liquid Death, and it is also verging on being worth $1 billion now. This our client, Shutterstock, which we built with this campaign. It's not stock, it's Shutterstock. We did a spoof. Do you remember the Fire Festival, the big fraud that the guy went to jail for? You should look it up. FYRE. We did a spoof of that. We basically, because they spent over $1 million on their video, we recreated their video, a spoof version of it that looked just as good with about $2,000 in stock imagery. And then it went viral. People thought it was a Super Bowl spot. They saw it so much, and they loved it. Our client, the Plaza Hotel, the most famous hotel in the world. Um, I don't like to bring up his name in any circumstances because people generally feel one way or the other. But our your president, when he was in New York, this is the one building that he bought and didn't change the name. He had to own it, but he realized it was more iconic. So it was still the Plaza. Uh, so that's how iconic we made this hotel. Um, so there you go. So, but the point is, all of those are built on ideas. None of them are built on money. They end up with money. You don't have to have a huge company with a bloated marketing budget to have huge impact with your brand. By definition, legends are different. They are not everybody's cup of tea, whiskey, or whatever. They're different. So, and they're different in a way that people don't just buy. They're different in a way that people buy into. identify with, belong to, join. And that is enormous power. People will talk about reach and frequency. If life was just about reach and frequency, even if it was just about mental availability and um, the benefits of distinctiveness and what a budget can buy, then the biggest brands and companies 20 years ago would be the biggest brands and companies today. But things change so much faster out there than we imagine. Change in the world, it's like an old-fashioned clock. I don't even know if you all grew up with these clocks with like hour hands and second hands, but I did. And sitting in an elementary school classroom with a clock on the wall with no second hand, you would look at that hour, that minute hand, and it appeared not to be moving. It moves so slow that it appears not to be moving. And yet it is moving. And guess what? It goes full circle in an hour. That's the way change is in the world. It moves at a pace most of the time where we think it's not moving. So we imagine that things are not changing rapidly, but the big are falling and the small are taking over. The reason Gillette paid $1 billion for Dollar Shave Club is they knew this. They would rather buy it off the market than risk losing their massive market share in razors. Be the change that they fear. This is what I'm preaching you today. Big companies and rich people will be as complacent as we let them be. Things get bureaucratic. People get jobs for life. They stop caring about the customer. They stop caring about your experience. They stop caring about their constituencies if they don't have to. When you build a brand, you build the power to challenge. And that changes things in the world. Entrepreneurial brands are the scrubbing bubbles of capitalism, and not just capitalism. In any society that allows competition, competitive ideas, and that's what brands are the scrubbing bubbles that keep everybody competing to serve and to win. So this is what we are working on here in this class and today. So I want to do a little exercise. So I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of work today. And it's really simple. I can't count the number of prospective clients over the years who've come to us and said, Mark, we're a sales organization. We've got product market fit and a great sales organization. And we push through our growth hacking and marketing. And it's gotten us to where we are. But for the last year and a half, 2 years, we've stalled. We've even taken a little bit of a step back. What got us here won't get us there. We need a brand to get to the next level. My question for you is, what do they mean? What is this thing called brand, and how does it differ from a sales organization? I want you to take 60 seconds to think of it and just write down a few words. And maybe, Professor, you know how this works best. Should they put it in the chat?
Yeah, throw it in the chat. Throw it
in the chat. And we'll feedback. That sounds great.
Yep.
All right, here we go. 60 seconds.
No second hand.
Exactly.
Now we're back in school. I sat there looking at those clocks. I remember Bewitched too.
Organization versus brand. Yeah.
I watched it.
All. Every once in a while, by the way, those old clocks, they would jump backward a minute. Oh, your stomach would twist. I'm going to let people think.
All right.
Write it down.
Write it. Put it in the chat. What's the difference between a sales organization and a brand?
Grace, Gina, And Eva, you're in the front row on my screen right now. This may change over time. I want to see you writing. Let's do it.
Come on, put something in there, put it into the chat, or if you want to, it's got to be 60 seconds. Where is everybody's? Looks like it's up.
Did anybody hear anything? I think the timer went off.
Yeah, well, here we've got
some chat, some stuff in the chat.
Yeah, we got some
keep adding. Can I read them back? Is that all right?
Yeah, you should be able to read them back in the chat. Go for it.
Yeah, I see him. All right, so here you go. Thomas, did I get that right? Thomas or Tom? Brand is something you can put a name or a face to, even if you don't buy it personally. Oh man, you know what? If we were in a room together, I would give you a really nice replica Yankee World Series ring to wear and take pictures with before I took it back, because I can't really afford to give it to you, because that's really a great answer. This is something that doesn't come up in marketing much, but you've put your finger on. The people who support your brand when you build a brand don't just include the people who buy your product. Some of your best brand champions and influencers in the world, the people who buy into your brand, may never buy your product. And you know what? That's okay, because they're working for you in other ways. There's word of mouth about brands that has nothing to do with product. So I love that answer. Madeline, I think of a brand like a collection of associations. Exactly right. A brand is like a relationship, right? With a person. You associations to the experience you have of them, associations to their personality, associations to what you perceive to be their fundamental character. Excellent. Brand has meaning and representation. I would like to hear what sales, right? So that we have more contrast here, but you're exactly right. We assign meaning to brands. And representation, it has a lot of different meanings. I'll take the maybe the most contemporary cut of it and say, do I feel represented by this brand or do I not? Do I see myself? Do I see people like me represented by this brand? Correct. Brand has life and character. It's selling an idea rather than just a product, like a sales organization. Yes. Sales org has more of a structure to it. Gina, front row, Gina. Yes and no. Yes, on the one hand, sales organizations can be more tactical and therefore more systematized and more structured. Sales itself, as I had a client who did both sales and brand, and she said to me, sales is infinitely creative because I can customize to the person I'm talking to, and with the only limit being my ethics and personalized to the nth degree. Brand needs discipline. We're out there in the market in front of everybody, and we need to be some things and not others. We need to commit. We need to choose one road. So it's a little of both. Brand focuses on awareness. That's one thing brand focuses on. Brand is something that's easily recognizable, and a sales organization is a company that sells products, even if they aren't used in everyday life. I would just go right to product. Brand is not product. The product can represent the brand, but brand is not product. Brand is not necessarily about product. Brand may be about those associations with the product, et cetera, right? All right, let's look at some of these others. Brand can be seen as a reputation, yes. Identity, yes. Short-term, yes. Brands hold emotional value, yes. Identity, yes. Gare and I talk about iconic identity as the goal. It's about identity core. It's a character ethic. I don't know if you ever read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You should, Stephen Covey. He said, so much of this literature out there, when he wrote it, it's all about personality. Like you can put on different colors, like decoration versus design. You can put on a different surface, a different personality, and then people will respond to you differently, and that's how you succeed in life. And he said, no. What happened to the character ethic? What are you really about? What are you authentically about? We're talking about authentic, deep difference, character. That's iconic identity. Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for participating. I wish I had time to read all of these right now. I promise I will read all of them, but not allowed right now because I want to go on and tell you more. So why did a 61-year-old guy far enough into a successful career to really not need to work um, with with a track record that's public and awarded and all of that. Listen to this author from Canada 2 years ago and just light up, and say, hey, I want to learn that, I want to do that, and I want to integrate that into what I know. Um, I can tell you early in my career, I saw people who were already so full of pride and the need to be right that they'd sit in conference rooms and I would say they're dead already and they just don't know it. And they were 28 and they were 31 and they were 35. And so I wrote myself a personal manifesto, which is um, I only want to die in this business once at the end. I don't want to become a hack. I don't want to believe I made it. I don't want to lose my holy curiosity ever. And so I really don't care about being right. What I really care about, I love what Bill Bernbach said, who started the creative revolution in my industry years and years ago. I don't want people who do the right things. I want people who do inspiring things. That's what we're about, especially with technology doing most of the writing and thinking out there right now. There's a sense that things are dead, that there's a feeling that people get that this is dead and rehashed stuff. Your ability to bring whatever it is, this moment right now, any moment of any relationship you're in, your job, your marketing, your brand, the paper you work on, to life, to bring life to it, it's a radical act. It's when you change a moment, you're changing things, you're changing a whole trajectory. We've all heard of that butterfly that flaps its wings and then, through a whole series of causes, hurricanes happen or whatever. But you be the butterfly and you bring life, and the effects will be mostly positive. So, but you'll only get there. You won't get there by being right. You'll get there by being curious. So, here are some things that other folks have said out there about this. One time versus lifetime. Sales drives dollars, brand drives trust. Sales is process, brand is promise. Someone here said something like that, right? Salespeople are evangelists, brand is the gospel. I think that was in Alabama. We heard that. A sales organization struggles to earn trust with a brand trust is already earned. Ooh, that's good. Someone in Omaha said that. Sales may be tangible, brands may be intangible. Sales may be logical, brands emotional. So for your takeaways, I just want you to, if you have a pen or you have a laptop or whatever, just contemplate what we just worked through and, just write yourself a takeaway. I know, I don't know where you are in your education/career journey, and to think so much of what you do, I think you think, well, I'm going to learn this and this is good and I'm going to have the degree and the degree is going to help me. And I don't really have to worry about the takeaway value because I'm not being asked to use these things right now or whatever. I can tell you it's soon that you'll be using these things. So take this away. You'll find as you go out here with this dichotomy that the space for tuning into what makes people feel, what creates pull. So yeah, which is what we're trying. So brand is pull, sales is push. That's a really good way to think about it. So this the emotional space, the associative space, that's what creates pull. And business people don't even know they're avoiding that conversation with the obsession with metrics and processes and reporting and things that are normally measured. The topic of how does it make you feel? And can I tell you, I'm a creative leader. I've been a creative leader for way more than half my life. And I catch myself under considering this realm of how will it make them feel? It's a superpower to be able to tune into this at will. So, and part of the reason we avoid it is because we can't measure it. We can't prove it in advance. Strategy involves tough choices and trade-offs. And it's all part of this pull strategy. Does anybody here? I always like to, does anybody here recognize this song? Tom, you would be probably the one. It's the Eagles.
Can't hear. I couldn't hear it. We couldn't
Oh,
hear
you
it.
can't hear it. It's okay. That's good. Then we don't have to get into it. It's Hotel California for anybody who wondered. Um, so what's the objective? If you're building a brand, if you're one of these people who becomes legendary at building brands and you build a legendary brand, what's your objective? So how are you going to win? And what's the playing field here? I would argue, I believe, that you could learn a lot from St. Andrews, dating back to the 15th century of the Kingdom of Fife, this hallowed par 72, 7,000 yards, windswept links nestled on a blustery North Sea coast, 7 large double greens, 112 bunkers, Hell's Bunker on 14, the Road Hole on 17, the Valley of Sin on 18. When they announce your name and you head to the number 1 tee with sweaty palms shaking in your shoes, I hope you can steady yourself like Gareth's friend Phil. You walk where every great player has ever played has walked. You play 18 where the shepherds once tended their flocks. Equal parts pilgrimage and privilege. It's where legacy meets reality on the fairway to heaven. So, on the one hand, people travel, save for years, travel from all over the world to walk across this 30-foot bridge and get their picture taken. People queue up for miles to be able to do it, to be able to play around on this golf course. Can I tell you a secret? It's just a golf course, right? The only difference is the brand and the legend. And so the goal is to be not another competitor in a crowded category, but to be a category of one. If you were to start a bottled water company, what would be in your bottles? You know, water, just like everybody else. If you put it in a clean bottle and you talk about how healthy it is or how pure the source is, don't bother. There's no shelf space for you. But if you put it in a can that looks like a bad ass can that somebody in Metallica, might be drinking behind the drums, or some sports figure in an X Games might drink, and if you have people guzzling it to challenging music rather than looking all healthy, When you talk about breaking the law, you might have a chance of building $1 billion brand. Category of one, incomparable. A commodity, by economic definition, trends towards zero profits. That's the result of supply and demand in the market. If it's just a commodity, if it's just water, eventually you'll have enough competitors to match the number of customers, and you'll be able to sell it at cost and make no profit. And then people go out of business. And that's the trend. Only brands can charge a premium. You build a category of one. So that's what we want to be. Category of one brands earn 76% of total market share. Market capitalizations, this is what they can get if they go public or if they sell. They're 5 to 10 times higher. So your $1 million company is now worth 10 million because you built a brand that's a category of one. Your $100 million company is now worth $1 billion because you built a brand that's a category of one. That's a significant difference. And it's not just for big brands. As we said, look at Pike Place, a fish market, and ask, are you remarkable? That's going to be your question. Is this remarkable? Does it make people feel? Is it different? Watch this video. Tell me what you see afterwards. There's Bruce. Imagine you have a fish market. It's smelly, it's small, it's cramped, smells like fish. Yet you got people like Bruce Springsteen stopping by. All right. What do you see here? I want you to go into the chat, and I want you to share what's different about here from most fish markets, from most businesses. What's happening here? Let's see what you have to say. Great song, says Colin. There you go. Yep. #1 album of all time. That's correct. #1 selling band.
Grace
All right.
says, you see that? Grace.
Creating experience, not just a service. I saw that. Grace. Yes. Good. What else? What are the people doing? People look excited. Yes. They look excited. What are they doing? They're filming. We're getting closer and closer to where the value is for you. They want to capture the memory. They're creating a community feel. Yes, they're doing, you're onto it. They're doing their marketing for them, right? They seem to be putting on a show. Yes, that they're capturing the show. They're sharing their experience. They're doing their marketing for them. When you create a category of one, when you create a legend, people will do your marketing for you. You don't have to pay them to do it. They'll do it for you. And is authentic enthusiasm from real people more credible and more effective than paid for advertising and marketing? Dollar for dollar, infinitely more effective. But yes, it's way more credible. It makes all your paid marketing much more effective. High energy, lively, theatrical environment. They go viral pretty much. They do. Very good. Thank you. So how will your customers do your marketing? You go out there in the world, you participate as marketers or in any other way in building brands, and everybody can be part of building a brand wherever you work. You want to ask these questions. Who are we? What do we believe in? What's different about us? What's the idea that we stand for that's going to change everything? What makes us remarkable? What more could we do to make us remarkable? Anybody can ask this question. If you're in any job in a place where you're not allowed to ask that question, of anybody, leave that place. That place isn't going to build a great brand. Those questions are too good to tell anybody. And I don't care. Intern, receptionist, I don't care. Whoever asks questions that good should get the ear of the CEO in a place, and I believe will in most places that have aspiration. So run of the mill versus remarkable, right? You're going to be remarkable. So ultimately, what you're seeing there is, look, you don't get remarked on if no one noticed you in the first place. So the game is not all about attention, but attention, it opens the door. We need to get their attention. Does liquid death get attention? Positive and negative. That's cool. They're not for everybody. They get attention. Does Oatly get attention? When their CEO makes himself look foolish standing in a field, of oats, playing badly and singing badly on his keyboard? He does. Is it all positive attention? It isn't. It doesn't matter. They're getting attention. Then people can engage with who they are. Then they win the people they're supposed to get, and they're remarkable. So it's all about attention. So what's the key to attention? What is the key? In a word, it starts with language. It starts with language. And language is more than words. We'll get into that, but it starts with your words. Strategy is your words. Language goes back thousands of years, but let's make it practical. Think about everyday language. Have you ever felt the need to break the ice when you walk into a room? Have you ever gone on a wild goose chase? Have you ever worn your heart on your sleeve? If you've ever used those phrases, you can thank Sir William Shakespeare. Dating back to the 16th century, the bard helped us understand the green-eyed monster, jealousy, and that all that glitters is, I know you're thinking, not gold. So these different words made Shakespeare iconic to this day, right? 500 whatever years later. You can't show you're different by using the same words. That's the starting point. So when we jump to present day language, let's consider category language. And this is sort of a take home. And because we don't have that much time to talk about what you want in life and what you might apply for next or whatever, I'm just going to assume that there's something you're going to apply for next. And as part of your process, when you do, I want you to go to AI and go to Google, and I want you to find at least 2 examples of what other people did to apply for that thing. Okay, whatever that is, whether that's you need a CV or a resume or a cover letter, whatever they've asked you to do, I want you to look at those examples, and I want you to circle and identify the similarities, because what you find is there are many. There are cliches in every category. And if you're not careful, the AIs will reinforce them, because the AIs want to please the most people, and they tend to find the average of what people say. But long before AI, people were doing it anyway. People are the reason for this. It's not the AI's fault. The AI is just trying to please the user. Your job is to find the similarities and then figure out how to not use those words. You'll stand out. You'll rise above if you do that. So you look for the category language in any category you get into and say, how do we not do that? And it's not just verbal language. There's also visual language. This is what companies do. I've worked with a lot of companies. I can tell you, this is the truth. If you haven't seen it already, you'll see it out there. They say, this is from a website, and you can see this picture here, right? And what they say is, let's face it, Jenny, we don't have very many very good-looking people here. This is a company of really government worker-looking people, and we don't want to put them on our website. What we want is a stock photo, maybe people who look a little more supermodelly, and we're going to put it on our homepage right next to our values, which start with authenticity. So that's what they do. We can't do that. We have to be authentically differenter. So look for the cliches, look for the words, look for the visuals, if there are visuals in what you're working on. Look for the positioning strategies. You'll see so many commonalities. When you watch categories grow, as I have, I worked on the first social network. I worked on Netflix, the first streaming service. I worked on eBay, I worked on a lot of firsts. I've seen a lot of categories from the beginning and how they go and grow and what happens. And I'll tell you, there's a reason that books.com and Amazon.com both went into the books through the internet business, and Amazon.com won. Google and Ask and Search.com went into competition together at the same time. And who do we have today? Google. It's counterintuitive. The founders think, oh man, we could own books.com. Then whenever anybody searches books, they'll find us. Of course we'll win. We'll block all the competitors. No, it's the different one. And and there are good reasons for that that I won't get all the way into. But suffice it to say that any successful business model will attract a lot of competitors. Ted Waite decides to sell computers, starts Gateway, decides to sell computers over phones and then over the internet later. And so does Michael Dell. They do it on the same day. They both leave college, 19 years old, to start their businesses on the same day. They're exactly the same age. Within a year, they have 7,500 other competitors, and they're all with names like PC Direct, Direct to You computers. They all sound the same. They all either go out of business or have to sell. And who's left at the end? Gateway, Dell, and Apple. Not generic. Look how visual we are. Um, First one into the chat here. What logo is that? Yes, Christopher McDonald's, Gina. Yes. Okay. This is a rapid line. What's that? Netflix, Gina. Wow, you're quick. What's that one? Oh my God, Christopher, Rachel. I didn't even get this, and I did this slide myself. Wow, you guys are good. What's that? Oh my God, Seth, Emily, Sophia, Ford, correct. What's that? Oh my, yep, Kate, Starbucks, Annie, Starbucks, correct. What's that? Gina, Coke, Claudia, Coke. Yes. What's that? Shell. Oh my God. Joe, Rachel, what? I forgot. I was afraid no one would guess it. And do we know what this is? Yeah, Gina, Google. Connor, Emily, excellent. We're so visual, but do you see the value of being this distinctive that I can take a little tiny bit of your logo and people will still know who you are? Visually distinctive means you're speaking your own visual language and you're doing it consistently. Superpower, superpower for building a great brand. I want to share with you something that we did. So you have to be challenging. I mean, I think there's humility. Like I'm out there to learn. I don't think I'm always right, but I think I have the right to say what I think is true. So one thing about healthcare is there's massive numbers of cliches. So we went up to New Hampshire and to meet with the biggest rural health system in the nation up there. And we wanted to convince them that they needed to stand out in order to compete with all those big city, like Boston, healthcare systems. So we brought them this here. I want to share with you. So instead of kicking us out of the room for insulting their commercials, they hired us. Later, I'll show you what we actually did for them. But isn't it interesting that people will binge watch a series that shows the real drama, right? The real drama of what goes on in these locations and the crowds and the choreography and the highs and the lows and the drama of it, that they'll actually pay to binge watch them. But commercials give us this whole other world that's not at all interesting. Look for those opportunities out there. So, so the important thing here is to zag. Where others zig, you zag. There's a great book I highly recommend by Marty Neumeier. It's called Zag. And it's great. It's an easy read, but it's full of smarts about how to do this too. That I just highly recommend it. So it's all about being differenter. And this is the weird thing. You're going to walk as you walk out there when you leave this today and you walk out there in the world and forevermore, you're going to realize you live in a world where people are constantly operating under the assumption that all we need to do is get better. If you're at this little startup called Apple, you just study IBM and what they do because they do everything better. And you just get better every day until you're so good that you win. Somebody who raced the World Cup said a recipe for being number two is to follow the leader and do whatever they do. You guarantee you will never get an advantage. Therefore, you will never be able to pass them. Better doesn't work. Better is good. Get better, sure. Differenter, though, beats better. You got to I don't tattoo myself anywhere and I don't highly recommend it. But if you're going to get a tattoo, this would be a really good one. Differenter beats better. What will work for you in the world is where you're authentically different and building on that. Differenter drives demand. It's the pull. Before voting with their money and their time and their money, people vote with their time. So differenter is not a lot of these things. And these things are important. I believe in performance market. I believe in sales too. There's real work in all the way down the funnel in marketing and sales and experience and all of that. But if you let it lead, you become a chameleon who's all things to all people. You don't know how to lead. You don't know what your true identity is. You don't have a brand. There was a movie Woody Allen did way back called Zelig, where the character Zelig just everywhere he went, he just blended in and he became what everybody else was. Turns out there's a story, a great Russian short story, I think by Tolstoy, that is just like that too, about a woman who loves that way. I just read it in a George Saunders book that I would recommend as well too. But this whole thing, you can't blend in. Conformity is for the audience. It's not for you. It's not for the leader. The leader has to be different. To be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Tom, do I have 5 more minutes Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. At the 1:45, we're done.
Okay. So I'm going to skip. West Shore Homes is in your own state. Look them up by figuring out how to be differenter. In 5 years, they went from under $40 million in revenue to well over $1 billion. They're in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Nowhere particularly special, but they figured out how they were different, and it's explosive growth. And God, is it fun too. I'm skipping a few things here. This is actually a 3-hour presentation that I've cut down, but not enough. So here we go. Let me see. Let me see if I can find where I'm. Okay. So think different, right? This Steve Jobs, this is the guy who was thinking of himself as a failure in 96 when I started my agency, ultimately built what is today a $4.7 trillion market cap business. You go back to when I put his picture and said, these are the kinds of people I want to work with. Why? Because I believe the best predictor of business success and also joyful business success, not imitative, drone like, bureaucratic, cutthroat business success. But, oh, I don't know why it's continuing to move forward so fast. Here we go. Maybe I just was leaning on. Oh, who knew? All right. I must have copied something. So let me see if I can just get it to stop here. It's forcing me to go fast, which is good. So anyway, I ended up working with these people. So it's going to keep going. So this one is this is Tom Sosnoff. He started both Thinkorswim and Tasty Trade. He had incredible fun, and he had $2 billion of exits. Oprah Winfrey, y'all know about. I'm not going to tell you, but don't think that she's successful because she's so rich. She's so rich because she differentiated. Ted Wade over here. Oh, this is not good. What am I going to do? I got to stop this. Sorry, PowerPoint befuddles me. All right, I'm just going to let them go through and tell you about him. Doug Levine. Oh, wait, I got to show you that video. Maybe I have to escape from this for a second. And maybe I got to show you the bigger screen so that you can see this. Give me 1 second to, let's do this. I'm gonna move some things out of the way. I'm gonna move this over here. And let me see if I can capture. Gotta move you guys out of the way too. I have a little screen. Here we go. Move that out of the way. So do you see the Doug Levine slide there?
We see crunch.
Crunch. Do you see and you see his picture?
Yes, in the middle of it. Yep.
Ah, beautiful. All right. So this is Doug Levine. I worked with Doug Levine. Doug Levine worked briefly on Broadway, and then he was a comedian. And he's like, I need to make money. So in a basement in the West Village of New York City, he started an aerobics class, and he called it Crunch. And he created this logo because he's a friggin' genius. And when gyms started to compete with him, he said, I better start a gym. He started Crunch. Within 12 years, it was the biggest fitness brand in the US. They had a record label, and they had a bunch of other media. And he sold it for, at the time, the princely sum of $250 million. And he moved to Miami. And he since started Voxy, an e-learning company, Frida Baby, which is in the news right now. And making people mad. He doesn't still own it. He hasn't owned it for years. It's private equity now, but they're doing the sorts of things he might do, but maybe with a little less. Anyway, what a fun life. What a lot of power. He's done whatever he wanted. He's been creative. He's helped a lot of people grow in entrepreneurial businesses, and he's made a lot of money. And this Who Wants to Kick a Millionaire's Ass contest that we did for him back in in the year 2001, guess who the number one millionaire whose ass people wanted to kick was in the year 2000? You're right, it was Donald Trump. Guess who the number two millionaire that people wanted to kick in the year 2000? It was Bill Gates. Not a lot has changed in all these years, but we actually did that survey for him. This is Ted Waite. 2 years after Ted Waite told me the story, and I got to tell it to you. I'm in a meeting with him, and he said, I'm probably going to get kicked out of this place. My board wants me to raise prices. And he said, Mark, do you know why there's no friends and family price here at Gateway? Because I would never sell something to your mother or to a stranger for a price higher than I would sell it to my own mother. Because I want everybody out there who can to benefit from having a Gateway computer. And I would rather leave. Well, you know what? They did kick him out. And 2 years later, Gateway was worth $1.5 billion. And Ted Waite was worth $4.2 billion. I know I'm referencing money a lot here today. It's a measure. It's easy to talk about. It reflects captured value. It isn't my most important value. It isn't the most important value of these business artists I'm talking about. They want to be creative, change things, and make a living. That's what they want to do. Money is one kind of power that they use. It's not even the most important kind of power. But I want you to know you don't give up security or money when you learn how to build legendary brands. Those come too. I mentioned Tom Sosnoff. This guy, he's in my own Vistage group. He's a friend. He built Spear Physical Therapy. He's a lovely, empathetic, emotionally intelligent guy. He started a physical therapy practice. It became one of the fastest growing in New York because of the nice, because of the really nice culture he created. And then during the pandemic, it really faltered. He had to cut executive salaries and all of that. And he said, Mark, I need a brand. I need an idea. I need a legend to get to the next level. We figured out that it was all about unstucking yourself. And we created this new identity. They were the biggest in New York, and we made it all about New York. We went to a New Yorker artist, and he helped us illustrate and create these only in New York kinds of illustrations. It grew so well. Look at this taxi top. It'll tell you how long it takes to run for a taxi and how many muscles you'll need. It worked so well, they became the number one in the US. Dan said, I'm 50 years old. My father dropped dead at 55. I don't know if that's going to happen to me or not, but I can't leave the business like this to my family. I've got to get it solved. It's 5 years later now. We went to this national campaign, Unstuck Yourself. He just brought in private equity. They wrote him a large 9-figure check. His family's going to be okay. And they still have him running the business and the brand because he's a legendary brand builder. And who wants to lose a legendary brand builder? So I leave you with this thought. Learn how to build legendary brands, learn how to unstuck brands. And you've got a lifetime of fun, creativity, and value ahead of you.
Fantastic. All right. And just so you know, Mark, at 1:45, some students might have to drop off. So
It's 1:47.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for that. If you have questions, you can take yourself off mute and ask Mark. I know this is we're going in overtime. If Mark can do it, anybody have any questions? I know I had one.
Hannah has her hand up.
Hannah.
I want to ask, what is the hardest thing for you about branding? Like, what is the hardest part for you? Because like it might sound like it's all like fun and easy, but I'm sure it's not all that.
I mean, honestly, the hardest thing for me personally, I think we all, I would ask every one of you to try to write your signature story about why you care about what you care about. and learn about your strengths. And strengths are most important. But we also all have a growth edge. I'm a diplomat. Um, I I unconsciously measure myself by how much I make other people happy and how hard, in a sense, I work to keep other people happy. Some people call that a people pleaser. And I think that's probably accurate in my case. Um, and but love is both challenge and nurturing. It's both. And you need to be able to figure out in the service of what is most important how to be both challenging and nurturing. So for me, that's my struggle, and I've done well with it, but I'm still working at it. I'll work at it for the rest of my life, I'm sure, because it'll always be easier for me to try to make people happy than to try to make them successful, to be honest. But my commitment is to help make them successful.
Mark, what was it about 21-year-old, your 21-year-old now
So,
co owner of the
oh,
agency? What made him stand out so much? Because again, the students are thinking, we gotta find jobs when we get out of here. How do we stand out? And so what was it? Was it his portfolio? Was it the
well,
way?
I had a thing that I did. Um, I had a thing. His portfolio was competent, but it wasn't inspiring in the way that I was looking for. In that, I could hire one out of 1,000 writers I met. So I was looking for things where I was like, I wish I did that. And his portfolio was competent. By the way, so was his colleagues who is now the global head of creative for one of the major networks. So what do I know? Um, but it was good. But it wasn't that. Back in the day, before there was social media and people started to take a more paranoid view of these things, I did a lot of projective techniques with people, and I really got to know their stories when I interviewed them. And my heart was in the right place, and people found it enjoyable. But I started to realize I didn't. Nothing bad happened, but I sort of felt the shift in the atmosphere with social media, and started to feel that if anyone thought it was intrusive, that it could start to create an atmosphere of paranoia. So I kind of pulled that back a bit. But when I met him, I was able to say, tell me about your life. How did you get where you are? And he was open about it. And I realized he was a guy who his mom got sick when he was young because she didn't want to die in front of her kids. She left her family. Uh, and so he was with his father and sort of in the care of his older brother when he was younger. He got sort of an evil stepmother who seemed that way. It turns out to be okay. Um, and she had two sons, so he became like the ugly step brother in a sense, in that household, and had that experience. Therefore, when he went to the University of Florida, he had to pay his own way into his frat, which he joined, and he ended up doing that, being a producer of events. And then at night, he would do the dishes there to make money, and yet he still sort of ran their events. When he got himself to New York on his own dime, even though he didn't have money, and he was paying one of the great creative directors $40 an hour to teach him to make his book better. So I said, it's this level of chutzpah in a 21-year-old. I've never seen it. And that's reminded me of John Bond, who was the new business partner at Kirschenbaum and Bond, where I came from. So that's what I saw. And if anything, I underestimated it. So what a guy. What I didn't realize was that, he has a heart as big as any room that he's in. So it's this interesting combination of forward motion. He's the go Indigo, like to-do list, push, let's go, blah, blah, blah. And he's really all about love. And so I've never seen him raise his voice. I've seen him, when something doesn't work out, twice get up from his desk and go into the bathroom to throw up, but I've never heard him yell. So
Wow.
he cares a
Colin,
lot.
Colin has his hand raised. Colin.
Colin, sorry, I filibustered.
No, you're okay. Don't worry. I literally do the same thing. I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I found it very informative, and I like to see like the outlook because this is the kind of like realm that I'm like trying to understand more. I was just gonna say, like, do you have like any advice on like, obviously I heard you like talking about like trying to stand out. My issue is that like obviously I'm applying to like probably hundreds of jobs, and
Sure.
do you think that there's any like tips or anything you can tell me to like to be able to like push that forward? Because like I feel like my strong suit is when I'm right here, like when I'm able to talk and connect with someone. I feel like I can do really well, but I feel like the paper only tells like so much, like from like what you were saying. So I just didn't know if you have like any advice on that.
Well, yeah, I've got two pieces of advice. So first off, knowing your strong suit is a major advantage. So you want to build on that. That's a strategic asset, right? So think about that. So let me tell you about one of the hottest agencies in the United States is called Preacher. Right now, they're in Austin, um, and it's founded by a guy named Seth and a couple of partners. Seth is their head of strategy, and I think they're a leader now. Um, so back in the day, maybe 20 years ago, maybe even more, uh, it was a recession. It was after post 9/11 and all that sort of stuff. And Digo was doing okay. We were hiring. So in order to emphasize we were hiring, we came up with an idea. By the way, offlining, that's an idea I had. We created it. 2008, one of the hot products of 2008. But anyway, back then it was called the Account Executive Survivor Contest. So it was sort of like the beginnings of reality TV. And we said, we're going to have a contest. You have to audition. You have to send in a video audition. Seth sent in a video audition. It was so funny that he got into the contest. And then when the contest was over, there was two people. I mean, everybody was great. Everybody got jobs who was in that contest. It helped them promote themselves. It gave them something to say that was different. We got jobs for about half the people. Annie O'Rourke won. She's in the comedy business now as a producer. But I was like, there's no way that we're not hiring Seth. Seth's got to win too. So my team said, okay, Mark, well, you're Mark, so you can say anything you want. But what would be fair is if you hire him also. So I hired Seth. And it was that video audition that helped me realize his personality. There's no rule that says you can't do a video audition, that you can't send a video along with your written material if that's your strength. I think in general, what I would say is treat it as a campaign, right? Use media people don't expect, do things people don't expect. Don't worry about alienating people who will say it's too much. You only need one job to start and a good story that'll help you get your next job. And the other thing I would say is I'm mark@digobrands.com. And professor, please share this with the rest of your class. Anybody who reaches out to me, and I think you want to put from Thomas Elmer's class in your subject line, okay?
Already.
Because I get a
Yes.
lot of spam, and
Already.
I'll follow up. All right.
Okay.
I'll suggest a few other things for you to do to get ready for that. But you run a campaign. Don't apply for a job. Run a campaign for yourself.
Fantastic advice. Fantastic advice. Well, it's
Appreciate it.
it's almost 2 o'clock, so I want to say thank you for your time. That was fantastic. What you shared was solid gold, and I have the advantage of being an old guy who understands. I watched Bewitched, so I went to
Me too.
I man, I was fortunate, Mark, that in my senior year in high school, I graduated in 1975. I had a elective class on marketing. And so I read Ogilvy's Confessions of an Ad Man. I learned to write ads in his style. I did a marketing research project around the varsity jackets at our school that are still being worn today. I was at my 50th high school reunion in the fall, and there it was. And so I had
That's amazing.
So anyway, thank you for all that you shared. I wrote a lot of notes. So I can definitely go back and write some of this stuff up.
Wonderful. And
thank
Hannah
you.
and Colin, major extra credit for staying.
Yeah. And Claudia and Gianna, I think they're on here. I hope so.
Oh,
Yes,
Claudia.
I'm still here.
Oh, uh, two of the quickest thinkers in the class. You definitely were very well represented in the early in the early voting on those things. Wow.
So,
All right, thank you all.
thank you. Have a great.
I'll be gone now, but by all means, email me, Mark@Digo Brands.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the
Thank
invitation.
you so much.
Thank
It's been
you.
inspiring.
Bye bye.
You're doing a great thing out there, Professor. Really.
Thank you. Thank you.